Perfect. So every other Friday, we do small business share, and that's just where we talk about small businesses, the ins and outs, the nitty gritties on owning a business and what that's like. And then every other Wednesday, we do Mommy CEO. And this is just basically, I named it Mommy CEO because I just thought it was cute. But it's basically just where parents, we kind of talk about what it's like to be a parent and also own or run a business of your own and what that looks like. Because I think a lot of people are very curious about that and how that what that's like and how that feels. I get a lot of women that come to me and be like, "Oh, my dreams are to own my own business." And I'm like, "Well, what's stopping you?" "Well, I have kids." No, 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 no. That's not stopping you. So, I think it's important to kind of get this word out there and really talk about the possibilities and how this is something that, that you can do. It is possible.
Absolutely. And I was a small business owner before having kids and obviously after having kids. And what I noticed was, wow, I could have done so much more before having kids. I didn't realize how much more I could have done because I didn't have, the kids' schedules or taking care of my kids to worry about or to handle. And this is also a message for those of you that don't have children. Use every minute of every opportunity in your day to do something about your business. Because at some point, you probably will have kids, or if not, that's fine. But you want to remember that everything is in perspective, right? So right now, you're thinking, oh, I could do it tomorrow. I can handle this tomorrow. But if you have the ability and the energy and the drive, do everything when you can and leave nothing unturned. I'm telling you, because now I look back at all the days I had before kids and I was like, man, I could have been a millionaire by now.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I feel the same way. Um but I didn't start a small business before I had children, but I started when they were very small.
Hmm.
Very, very small. So it was like I had the luxury of them being really tiny so I could like wrap them around me and kind of take them with me wherever I went and it wasn't such a big deal. But the
Right.
older they got, the more responsibilities, the school events, the games, the practices, the studying for tests and all the work and college prep and oh man. I was like, "Ooh, I miss those days when they were so tiny and I could just throw them on my hip and just go with it.
Fact.
Um, yeah, so I definitely agree with that. So, let's start with, um, so one of my first questions, Uma, for you is, so let's go ahead and lead kind of off of what we just talked about.
Hmm.
Um, what are the biggest differences that you feel there are? Challenges and even things that are easier, like pros and cons to being not having children and being a business owner, and then having children and being a business owner.
Okay, those are good questions. So, having before having kids, I think I took it for granted just how much of my free time was my own free time. And that's why it's like I have a little bit of regret, not too much, but it's a Capricorn thing. Like I have a little bit of regret, like, damn, I could have like really done some more when I didn't have children or other responsibilities. So that's why like when I speak, I just tell people, hey, if you don't have kids, man, you are in the prime of your life. Your whole schedule is your own. So, like, literally from sun up to sundown, you should be doing something that's furthering you, whether it's personally, spiritually, or professionally. It should always be furthering you. Because the way I think about life is there's going to come a time in life where I'm going to get tired. We're getting older, our energy is draining, especially for those of us that have kids. And I'm coming here now about the kids situation. Your energy is not what it used to be. So take advantage of all the energy you have now and make your life. So when you get older and your energy is not there, you have a ton of money and a ton of experience and probably a ton of residual income coming in that you can relax and do the things that you've been wanting to do, like take a pottery class or paint a picture or whatever. Now, having children, I will say, has actually been beneficial because it forced me to structure my day. right? So before I had
Mhm.
all the time in the world, no structure, and in a way, I wasted some opportunities. But now that I have children, because I started this current, I have several businesses and I've had businesses open and close over the years. And the one that I have now, in March will be 13 years. I'm the CEO of a metaphysical center, an actual brick and mortar site. And we've been in operation since March 13th, 2009. So since when I opened that in 2009, my kids were both under the age of 5. And I was going through a divorce and becoming a single parent, single homeowner, and a single mom while juggling the opening of a business. That's why I say to people, when you say you can't do it, trust me when I say you can. But it takes your drive, your determination, and your focus on wanting to do it. So the benefit to me of having children and starting your business is that it does force you to be focused and to have a schedule that you have to maintain.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you kind of hit on that because I definitely feel that. And here's something that I see a lot of people struggle with. And I can't even lie, like I struggle with it too. What would you tell someone, or what would be your greatest advice on either keeping or having the drive to like stay motivated with these things, especially having children when you're so exhausted and you're so tired and we get those moments of like just pure defeat and you're like, oh my God, I just can't, like, I really just can't do another day of this. What would you say, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a really good one. The first thing is it depends on the age of the children. So when my children were really young, like I had told you guys, um, I was very kind and easy on myself. So I would say, all right, I definitely don't have the energy. First of all, I just birthed them, right? Like a couple years ago. So that in
Hmm.
of itself is a shock. And I said, all right, so I don't need to stress myself out anymore with you got to do this, you got to do that. I acknowledge that when my energy is there, I do it. So when my kids were very, very young, they still had, nap time during the day, sleepless nights during the night, because, they're getting used to being on this planet and really trying to understand how they fit in and where they fit in. So I was just very, very relaxed with myself and then also with my clients. At the time when my children were young, I was a licensed massage therapist. I still am, but that's what I did primarily for work. So I would have people come to my house for in-home massages, but they were very understanding of knowing my children are very young. And while I'm massaging you, things could happen. I've had, massaging a client and my 3-year-old would just walk in the room, supposed to be napping, and just walk in the room. And I would have to be like, I am so sorry, and take him back to his room with his brother and, put on a TV or give him his toys or give him some juice and crackers or whatever, just to placate him while I finish this client. Thankfully, communication is huge, and I never communicated to my clients in a way that made them feel sorry for me. It was, listen, I can massage you at 2 p.m. today, but you need to know that my children are home and that is their nap time, but they're still young and they may wake up and at some point I may have to take them back up. But what I did was I was super cheap because while everybody was charging 95 to 100 in my area for massage, I was charging 60 because I was aware that they may not get the full spa experience because of my lifestyle and what was going on. You know what I mean? So
Right.
once the kids got older, what was really cool is they grew up in a household of a small business entrepreneur. So it's like they got trained. So that when they started getting older, if my phone rang, even if they were, playing around, wrestling in the house or whatever, they would get real quiet because they knew mommy had to take this call and it might be a client and they knew. So I would recommend for those that have small children, be kind to yourself, communicate effectively to your clients so they know what's going on. You're walking into a house with 4 children or dogs and cats or whatever. These are the situations that can happen. Most likely they will not, but I just want you to be aware. And that way people don't feel so offended or whatnot. And then for older children, include them. Include them. My kids have helped me pack up stuff for festivals. They've gone to festivals with me. They've attended classes with me. They've helped me. I've paid them like $5 to put together packets for retreats or classes that I have. I've taken them on the retreats with me. So it gets more fun when they're older because then they can participate. Like my kids love, I did a retreat out in the Shenandoah Valley Mountains 2 years ago. and they absolutely adored it. They were doing yoga and meditating and just having fun with it. So yeah, you want to show your children that this is a lifestyle. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle. Because what I'm ingraining in my kids is when you love what you do for work, it's not work, right? I work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. I don't work on, no, I do work on Sundays, but it's more like 4 hours on Sunday. So I work 16 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, and maybe 4 to 6 hours on Sunday. I work every day, but it doesn't feel like work because it's fun.
Perfect. And I so agree with that. I also, when my kids got older, of course, I have a huge age gap. Mine are 19, 17, 16, and I have a 4-month old. So that this is like, whoa, new. Okay. Um, but it has been so much more fun. My kids got older and like they do festivals with me, they go places with me. And my oldest son actually picked up reading and does festivals with me where he reads for people. And it's amazing watching
I
him and
love
his
it.
yeah, it's oh god, he's so gifted too. I mean, this child has just pure talent and he does his thing and he's just so amazing at it. So I definitely agree. It's a whole lot funner doing stuff with them the older they get. We struggled for a while, like middle school, high school, just with like the rough scheduling, because both of my boys were doing sports and they were in clubs, and it was, man, that scheduling was really, really strict for a while. But once that eased up, it got a whole lot better. Um,
Yeah, I was blessed in that my children, I've tried to put them into sports and stuff, and they would do it and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm done."
yeah,
And yeah, so I pity you because I know, yeah, my some of my friends have kids and they're like on strict schedules, going from
yeah,
soccer to ballet to, all
yeah,
sorts of stuff. So be easy is what I would say, because that comes first. Like our kids come first. And we're
right.
never going to get back the time that we, you know, and that's why like people are like, "Oh, you probably missed out." No, I did not miss out, because I'll tell you I had a rule when they were growing up, when they were little, because my youngest has like anxiety. So if
Mm-hmm.
he came home and they have house keys to get in the house and I'm not here, he would panic. So I made it a rule that no matter where I was, what work I was doing, what event I was attending, I had to be home by 3:30 p.m. to make sure that my kids saw me when they walked in the house, and I give them their snack and I start preparing dinner, because I cook dinner every day. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do their own breakfasts in the morning and then lunches at school, of course. So
Right.
we always had that schedule, because that's the one thing that you have to have as a constant. Kids have to have a routine so they have something to fall back on. And I made sure that routine stuck in place. I would never take a client that could affect that routine. Now my kids are 14 and 16 now, so I take clients whenever. But again, there's still some sort of routine. My kids get home from the bus about 2:45, so from 2:45 until no 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is their private time. They're in the rooms. They can either do homework or just relax, just lay down and listen to music or whatever. And then from 4 to 6 is our family time. That's when we make our dinner. We play board games. We watch our shows or watch a movie. And then from 6 onwards, they have playtime, with their friends, the computer games and all that. And I'm back working or just hanging out by myself. So, yeah, routines and schedules are so important if you're a CEO, a mommy CEO. But I think for anybody really, it's important to have your schedules, because you got to really like plan your self-care in there as well.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's very important for any business owner, even without children. Like it is critical that you scheduleize everything in life. That was one of my biggest lessons in opening a business. Cause I'm like, so my Pisces moon and Pisces ascending is like flitter, flitter. Let's just roll with it, right? And then my Capricorn moon's like, nah, nah, nah. Like we need to schedule everything.
It's like we're not having that. I know Pisces and
Yeah.
Capricorn, that's an interesting mix.
I know, trust me, the struggle is real. So, but I finally like, and I think when I was younger, just my Pisces kind of ruled and, dictated everything. And then when I got older, my Capricorn was like, nah, fam, like, we got to get on a whole nother level with this because this, like, winging it, this winging it stuff that doesn't work. So I had to get very structured and very scheduled down to the like I was at one point scheduling every hour of my day.
Yeah.
Literally, like I would even schedule and drink a bottle of water.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, that's how hectic sometimes my days are, especially with children, it's slowed down some, definitely, being that my children have gotten a little bit older, but, man, it would be so much that I would have to schedule in times to eat, times to drink, like, it
Yeah.
was pretty intense. Um, so
Absolutely.
let me ask you, Uma, um how do you deal with because this is also another area I've kind of struggled with too. How do you deal with clients that I hear this a lot, I get this question a lot. How do you deal with clients that are not okay with the children aspect?
Oh, I don't deal with them at all. I do
You're
not
just
deal
like,
with
"Oh,
them.
bye."
Yeah, completely. That I think that was one of the most beautiful things about my business is that I teach a lot of business entrepreneurs how to start a business, and my biggest tip is be yourself unapologetically. You're
Mhm.
here to serve a community, but on your terms. Because we're not the day of the martyr, like being that martyr that sacrifices themselves for everyone is over. That was so like the 1900s. The
Yes.
21st century is more about I share, I give of service from a cup that is well full and nourished and plentiful. So I'm not about to give a reading to somebody or bring them to a healing situation knowing that they have a problem with any aspect of my life. You know what I mean? It's just like it's below me. So if I tell them, oh, I have kids and I'm massaging you and they're like, oh, that's a problem, I'll be like, all right, well then I'm not the massage therapist for you. Have a great day. I've actually refunded people money before even meeting them because just in the communication, it just felt off to me. And I'm very strong with my psychic intuition. So sometimes I feel things that people don't see yet, but I see it way before it's coming. And I will get out of situations before anything else happens. You know what I mean? Because I can sense it. And then, sure enough, it always follows through what was going to happen, what I thought was going to happen. So there's sometimes I can be talking to a client, like let's say, Luna, you booked me for a past life regression, you pay me, and we're talking by email, and something just starts to turn for me. I will make up an excuse and say, you know what, I'm so sorry. I can't take your appointment on Friday. I'm going to refund you and maybe we could book again in the future. I just don't have a time for you right now. That's my easiest way of getting out of something I don't want to do anymore. Um,
Mhm.
because I don't want people to say, because the minute you say, no, this doesn't work or I can't work with you, they go into what's wrong with me. And
Right.
that's not a conversation I need to have with people, especially when they're not ready to listen, you know? So I just
That
get out of it by saying, look, something came up. But if they keep pushing, I'll just say, they'll suggest another day and I'll say, no, I'm busy. And they'll suggest another day. And by the third time, I'll say, you know what? I don't think it's meant for us to work together. So here's some people in the area that can work with you. And I do refer them to my friends in the area who also do what I do. Hmm.
Perfect, perfect. And you know what? I love that answer. So, and I'm going to kind of lead off of that with intuition and being a business owner and parent. I feel like intuition is so important. So when it comes, like for me first, like it definitely came like naturally with my children. I was very intuitive. Once I had them, it was like boom, this automatic intuitiveness towards my children. But I'm very business savvy too. It's like Capricorn in me, us Caps are just so business oriented.
Yeah.
Um, I find a lot of people struggle with that. So, how do you incorporate intuition in both, sides of your life, and how important do you feel that it is that you stay connected in that way when it comes to these things?
Super, super important. Following my intuition is just if I don't follow my intuition, my whole life is going to go to crap, honestly. So that's why like before I came on here, I woke up, I meditated, I did my yoga, I journaled, I pulled my card for the day. I set my energy because if I don't do that, then I'm open to the suggestions from the world. And I never ever want to be in that situation again because let me tell you, people don't know what's going on in their own lives. But then yet they try to inform you about what's going on in your life or advise you on what you should or should not do in your life. It's the most ridiculous setup we have ever seen in the history of mankind. So what I do is I always meditate every morning. Now, it was harder when I had children that were very young because their schedules and whatnot. But then again, once they started becoming of a comprehensible stage where they can listen, put your dish in the sink, watch TV or whatever, I would let them know about meditation. Mommy's meditating. This is quiet time, no noise for 15 minutes. Because it used to be smaller. Now it's like I meditate about 30 minutes a day. But back then it was only 10 or 15 because that's all I can get in the morning when they're waking up and getting ready to go. So I would just let them know and I would set my energy for the day. It is super important for you as a mom, as a CEO, as the owner of a business to follow your intuition. I've made my whole business as successful as it is by just following my intuition. I can't tell you how many business coaches I've worked with who's told me that will never work, what you want to do. But yet, here I am still here today, and I'm actually the leading metaphysical center in the DMV area. Everybody knows Lotus. And a lot of the people I started with no longer have centers anymore. You got to
Mm,
follow your intuition.
yes. I completely agree with that. It's so important. My intuition has guided me through so many obstacles and so many things when it comes to business and, and parenthood too. So I definitely 100% I feel that on a deep level. I think intuition is important every way in day-to-day life, but when we deal with these really big important things, it's very important. To kind of deal with and really and even like and this is kind of where I'm going to go with it, sharpening your intuition and using your intuition more. What are some things that you do or may suggest to really connect more to your intuition, to strengthen it, to build on it, those kind of things?
Yeah, I took a lot of classes. Like it's something that we talk about in the circles. It's no hidden fact that I spent 20 years in development. I traveled the world. I didn't just stay in the US and stay in my neighborhood. I went and I found the best teachers of whatever genre I was going into. So for instance, when I wanted to learn how to use sound therapy, and then of course that's an intuitive gift, right? Intuitive healing session with sound therapy. I went to someone who was out of Sarasota, Florida, because she was the creator of a therapy and I wanted to learn directly from her. So I did a lot of training. I've spent about over $50,000 over 20 years in the education to get the experience and to really fine tune my intuitive gifts because you can grow your intuition by yourself by meditating every day, but you need the push. Like you can't when you're strengthening your muscles, you need to lift a barbell, right? That is the push against your muscle to exert the force to really make you shine. You following me? So
Yeah.
I can't just grow my intuition by myself by just sitting in my house and, what like reading cards for people. Again, there's no push, right? I needed to go to like the best teachers and have them push me or set obstacles in front of me or exercises to do that would take me out of my comfort zone. And then in coming out of my comfort zone, I'm able to do a wide variety of things. And now I trust my intuition so implicitly. That's why a lot of people don't trust their intuition because they've
Mm.
never had somebody challenge it or challenge them. Sometimes it looks like, okay, I'll tell you, especially with new readers, I'll challenge them. I'll challenge them. I'll ask them questions. How long have you been doing this? And how many people have you read? But it's not to make them look stupid. It's to challenge them. So that way they can have now the push to say, all right, I want to be better. I want to do better. Because for me, as a professional reader in the community, I do see a lot of people using their intuition, but I also see a lot of people allowing their personal lives and their own emotions to interfere. We call it emotional readings, where you're reading for someone else, but you're interpreting it according to your own emotional intelligence. And so you
Hmm.
got to work against that. So, yeah, a lot of training um, is what I recommend to build your intuitive skills. And then also just meditating and really tuning in to create that self awareness within yourself. Wow, I just gave a reading, but how much of that reading was really from spirit, or how much of that was really from me and my own opinions?
Right. I love that you brought that up because that is something that I also have witnessed in the community, not just with other readers, but I'll be the first one to say when I first started, that's pretty much how I was. I was a very emotional reader, and I
Hmm.
realized like I was very hit or miss when I very, very first started reading cards for people. I was very hit or miss, and that was why, because I was not trained properly. I didn't have the right education. I
Right,
didn't have the right teachers, the right, mentors, the right people to kind of guide me and teach me on what I was doing. And it took me stepping back from that and seeking classes, teachers, mentors. I traveled all the way to Black Mountain to work with a shaman.
right.
Like there were certain things that I did that I had to do, and I spent, oh man, thousands and thousands of dollars. And at first I had a problem with it because I was like, man, I just can't really afford this. And the shaman that I was working with told me, if it's meant for you to do, the money will find the way. Like it will come.
Yes. Can I tell you
Like,
about that? Because I've trained so many people, like hundreds of healers and psychics and mediums to do the work that we do. They're not
yes.
making money. And it's not because of me or my training, because they've gone to other teachers too. It's if it's your path, it's your path. There's no denying your path. But like what really irritates me is you and I both belong to a stream community. We're both streamers on another
Mhm.
app. And what really irritates me is just seeing people pick up a deck of cards and now all of a sudden they're a reader. It's like a slap in the face to me and to other like you people that are professional readers that have put in the time, the money, the effort, and have claimed this as this is our work, this is what we do professionally. It's a very big slap in the face for me. I remember I went into a girl's room one time. She no longer streams, and she had a tarot deck, and she was pulling cards and giving, and she had no idea. Now tarot is harder, especially that Rider Waite deck. If you don't know the meanings, you don't know the meanings. And she
Right.
was just reading the imagery, but it was all wrong. So I'm sitting in the comments and I'm trying to be like, I should just leave this room. But she calls me out. Well, she gave a reading to someone and was like, oh, this is what it means. She's like, I don't know though. Uma, what is your take? And I gave a completely opposite meaning because I know the card and I know what the card means. And the person who I was reading for was like, oh my God, Uma, that is spot on. I don't know what the hell she was talking about, but that was spot on. So then everybody in the room wanted me to read them. But I'm thinking to myself, no, I didn't come here to read people. I just come off a stream where I did 50 readings. I tend to do about 50 readings each stream. So I'm like, no, I'm tired. I don't want to do readings. But it was just a reminder to me that there's so many people on streams that are not talented, that are not trained. And guess what they do? They don't just hurt themselves because, of course, people are going to be like, that didn't really resonate. Now, people don't tell the readers to their face that doesn't resonate because people are too kind, but they do talk about it in the community. Because I've actually heard about people that are doing readings that we know that, and people come back to me and be like, she gave me a reading and it's not spot. I'm like, why didn't you say something? No, there was too many people in the room and she was in your friend's stream and I didn't want to say nothing. And I'm like, look, you're not helping her by making her believe she's giving good readings. You know what I mean? Like you're not helping her. You got to say something. So
Right.
it does get talked about in the community. And I hear back a lot about a lot of people, not just in this community, but in my neighborhood as well, of people that are doing readings that are not, up to par. So it never slips by spirit. It never does.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's important to have that in place. I think that's just like, and I feel like this is, just like with your children, just like with a business, you invest in these things. You invest.
Oh, she has a call.
You Oh, sorry guys. You invest in your family, you invest in your business, you invest in so many different things. So it's important to also invest in yourself and your gifts. And like, like the shaman that I worked with told me, because I remember there was this, so I wanted to do a crystal healing class because I was just so drawn to crystals, and I had always worked with crystals, but not like on a professional level. And I really wanted to get the education behind them. And the class was like $2,500. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford that. Like I really want to. And he just told me, was like, if you want it, put it out into the universe, and if it's meant to happen, the money will come. And no kidding. So the money, I didn't get a check or anything, But I reached out to so I got certified through Hibiscus Moon.
Oh, I love
And
her.
yes, wonderful person. I reached out to her and I was like, hey, like I really love your classes. I'm interested. I actually met her at a gym show in Denver, Colorado one
That's
year.
amazing.
And yeah, and she was such an amazing person. And so I was like, I really want to take these classes. And she was like, well, we have payment plans. So you can just make small payments every month until you're finished paying the whole amount off.
I love that.
And I was like, oh my God, so this is doable? And she's like, yeah, it's doable. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was just so excited, So I did. I took her classes, which were extremely intense. Man, that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of
Hibiscus
work.
moon
It
is
took
good
me
stuff.
Yeah, it took me a year to go through her classes. A year. It
Mhm.
was so because the science aspect was so intense. Um, but definitely I will say if anybody's interested in crystal healing, Hibiscus Moon, definitely the way to go because she teaches the spiritual and the scientific aspect of crystals and how they work and how they resonate with us in our human form.
Correct.
Uh,
But
so,
that
but it's an
it's a true statement that you said about,
Mhm.
if you want it, the money will come. Because I've taken classes just like you. Like I had this one class that was $1,600, and I was like, I really need this class. And as soon as I finished that class, that week I made like $1,400 that one week right after the class. It was just coming in. And the thing is like at the end of the day, if this is your life, you're going to find the money, the time, the effort to do it all. I remember when my kids were less than 4 years old, I was still married and I really wanted to become a yoga teacher. I love yoga. I'm still a yogini. It's more practice in my personal life than I do sharing in the classroom. And
Mhm.
I really wanted to go to this ashram that was about 3 hours away from my home, but I had to live there for a month. And spirit arranged it. Like my drive, my desire was so strong that my mom flew down, helped take care of the kids, with my husband. My mom helped pay for me to go. I got a scholarship to knock off some money there. And I was able to go for a month and really learn all the things I needed to learn to become a yoga teacher. So when I hear people say, oh, I'm about this life, but they're not putting any sort of investment into it. I'm like, you're not about this life. You're about the fame and fortune you think is going to come from this life. But it doesn't come for a lot of people. Like, I'm one of the more successful light workers in the community, making over 6 figures a year. But that's a rare story. A lot of light workers aren't making that because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of focus, and you have to be at it every single day. Now, if you don't love doing that, you really were just doing it because you feel some sort of high by giving people messages, then that's not enough to carry it through. Does that make sense? It's not enough to sustain it. You have to want to do it. Like there's so many times I've taught to empty classrooms or classrooms with only one or two students. Not every day I'm having full classrooms or speaking to a room of 100. Every now and then it's going to be like 5 people or 6 people or whatnot, but you still got to do it. You still got to do it and show up.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's important to realize that it's not easy. It's very, very hard to do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication. And something I know for myself that I have also, I'll admit there's times where I struggled with my business to be like, okay, is this really my business or is this something I want to do on the side just to help other people? Because I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment, a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of self work, a lot of truth, man. There's so much truth you have to face in
Hmm.
this in this line of being a business owner, especially a spiritual business owner, an
Hmm.
esoteric business owner. Like there's a lot of shit you have to face that's
Hmm.
uncomfortable. I had to take a step back a few times and look at myself in the mirror and be like, wow, you know what? Yep. This is uncomfortable for me and I hate that I'm being called out like this. I hate that I'm being challenged like this, but it's the truth. And
Hmm.
I need to step up and into myself if I'm going to continue to do this. And that's just what it is. And you have to. I mean, it's same principles apply with parenting. We don't have a book that says this is how to be a perfect parent. We just have to figure it out along the way.
Yes.
Sometimes that involves a lot of nasty truths about looking at ourselves, how we parent, how we are as business owners, these kind of things. We make mistakes, things happen, we learn trial and error, right?
Right.
So I think that's important to really take that into consideration. So this is going to lead me into this part of it. How do you and what would be words of a kind of wisdom from you on separating the stress from business, work, clients to your children, being at home and being a mother?
That's a great question. So the first thing is that I keep everything in perspective. If I come off of streams after doing like 2 hours on a stream, I leave streams in stream. If I leave my office and somebody has just shared a very traumatic story that is part of their healing process, I leave it at the studio. I think no further of it. Um, I find that a lot of light workers feel that they have to personally get involved in order to help people. And that's not the case. It's a job. It's just a job. But where light workers fail is that they feel like, well, because I'm a light worker, it has to be my whole lifetime. So when I work on this client, I got to now go home and keep thinking about this client or worrying about this client or worrying about their situation. No, no, it's a job. You're in that position, you're like a spiritual counselor or a spiritual coach. So you leave it there where it's at. So that's the number one thing is that I keep it in perspective and remind myself that this is just work. I'm very caring and loving and supportive and affectionate when I'm in my work. But then when I go home, I owe it to my children, to myself, to my partner to fully be present for them. It's not fair to them if I'm not. The second thing is I don't get too involved in anything. The only thing I'm really involved in is my children's lives and my partner. Everything else I'm not involved in. So that's why like if there's cliques being formed or people wanting to get together to hang out or do extra stuff or whatever, I tend not to participate because then that could now leak into my personal life. Does that make sense? Like um okay, for instance, like I was involved and you were part of this, Luna, in a group chat setting. It was a bunch of streamers that were streamers on stream, and then we formed a group chat off of stream, um, with the sole purpose of helping you, right, with your big move and everything. And I was glad to be in that community to help you with that. But then it took a turn when people were sharing about their personal lives in there or their dating lifestyles and whatever. And I needed to get out because now this was going to affect my mindset. It was taking me away from being focused on my life because now I found I would come off streams and then go right into that group chat, which is now my personal time with my family, my children, myself. And now I'm involved in group chats about all sorts of things, but it's taking away time from my kids, my man, and myself. So I had to leave the chat because I was like, okay, this is too much. I see these people on streams and now I'm seeing these people off streams. And I'm like, it's that's not okay. So you got to like keep things in perspective, number one. Number two is you got to choose what you're giving your attention to. And if you find that you're giving your attention to one person or one group or one activity way too much, then start cutting down your time on it. The
Hmm.
third thing is I create a lot of time for me time because I can't give to people if I'm not a full cup. So every day I have an hour to myself between my gym routine. Actually, it's 2 hours between my gym routine, my yoga, my meditation. That's like an hour in of itself. And then another hour during the day when my man's not here, my kids are at school. I have an hour just to myself where I could eat my meal in peace, watch my shows, read my book, do whatever I want to do just for me. I'm not on streams. I'm not chatting with my friends. I'm just by myself. So I'm refilling myself. And I do that every day and every week. My day is Sunday. That's why nobody sees me really on Sundays because I'm just spending it by myself in an empty house by myself. And then once a year, I take a solo trip by myself. Last year for Thanksgiving, I went to St. Petersburg to visit the Salvador Dali Museum. The year before COVID, because COVID, we didn't really go anywhere. But the year before COVID, I flew out to Utah to the Red Mountain Resort and just spent a week out there by myself. So these things I do to just kind of remind myself, like, Uma, you're not here living for anybody else but yourself. And my mom told me that when I was a kid. She said, you're born into this world alone. You're going to die alone. It doesn't matter how many people you meet. They can all be at your deathbed, but nobody, I guarantee you, is going to kill themselves and journey with you to the next side because you're going. And that really stuck in my head for all of my life. And that's why it's so easy for me to get in and out of relationships because I'm always reminding myself, Uma, you're here to do this on your own. People are here to add to your experience, but they're not here to be your experience. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Absolutely. And this kind of led into like part of my one of my last questions too. So I'm glad you kind of touched on that already. It's like, woo, pre-gaming. So friends, friends in business. I see this a lot. I see that this can be a problem often. It can be hard. How do you maintain friendships in business? Because sometimes they kind of collide. What are boundaries that you feel like you need to put in place, or what is some advice or suggestions on how to integrate that or not integrate that? I know for me, there's been a lot of trial and error on that forefront with friends in business. So, what has been your experience with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. It's been a lot of trial and error on that because not a lot of people, in my opinion, know how to be a good friend. So
Hmm.
here's the thing. I'm gonna shine and I'm gonna shine bright no matter what. That is my purpose in life. That is all of our purposes in life is to shine. When you come around lower minded people, they're going to be affected, annoyed, irritated by your shine. And then they will start to do things that can become harmful to you. On the lower side of it, they become passive aggressive, just making small digs, maybe gossiping about you to other people or trying to sway people that they're friends with, you have in common against you. On the heavier end of it, they will just outright attack you, blame you, or try to discredit you at every move you make. So when I come into like a new group of people, and usually females, I'm more comfortable being friends with females than males. And so when I come into a new group of females, I'm very reserved and I share nothing about my personal life for at least a good 2 to 3 years. And there's a reason for that because I've been burned. I've been burned by people who I was sharing to, and they would run in the streets if we had a falling out and tell everybody my business. I come from an old school way of thinking. If you and I fell out, whatever you've told me in private stays in private. It doesn't need to go out into the community. There's no need for that. Right. But not a lot of people do that. There's a lot of people who just want to just put stuff out there to further discredit you. So when I meet people, I'm very reserved. I will become a friend, as in they can lean on me and share with me their deep, dark secrets and all of that because they know it's not going to go anywhere. But I don't share until I've known this person for 2, 3 years. And then at that point, if I feel comfortable, then I will start to share. And then at that point, now I consider you my friend. And the reason for that is because I have a path where I'm going. I'm going all the way to the top. And a lot of people that I know are not going as far as I'm going to go. And they may not have it within themselves to be happy for me or to just say, like, for me, I have friends, some people in my life, I know they're going all the way to the top. And it's enough for me to say, thank you for spending a little bit of your precious time in my circle. So I got a taste of you. Because now when I see you on TV and radio and stuff, I can like rejoice in the fact that I had a little bit of you at that moment. I'm not going to hate, I'm going to congratulate, you know? But not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people feel the need to like, oh, because they're not going anywhere, let me just go ahead and be mad or bring down somebody like Uma or anybody who's shining brightly. So I'm not a fan of friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of friends. I'm more committed to my work and my service and my core group, which is like my man, my children, my family, my birth family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my cousins. That is who is more important to me than friends. Because for friends, you got to find, for me, I have to find women that are powerful, that have a lot going on in their own lives. So they're able to see me shine and not feel threatened. Like my best friend, she has a lot going on in her life. She's married, happily married, has a beautiful kid, beautiful home, and she has several businesses that are all taking off. She's full. So when I call her and say, "Oh my God, I got this, this thing happening," she's actually genuinely happy for me. But you can tell when people aren't happy for you because you can hear it in their voice, you can see it in their mannerisms, that the minute you tell them about what's happening for you, your blessings, they start to shrink. And you can actually hear them say, "But what about me? How come she's getting this and I'm not getting this?"
Mm.
And I pick it up very quick. I'm a psychic. I pick it up very quickly. And those are the people that are not my friends because I don't need to be around that energy, you know?
I agree with that. I have recently experienced this very thing, where I've had to cut some of my friend circle, which my friend circle is hella small anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of people in it anyways because I think that's a Capricorn thing too. We don't friend very well.
Yeah.
So, because we just generally we see people for who they really are and how they are. So I understand that. Um but I recently had to cut out somebody that I considered I honestly felt like was a sister to me,
Mhm.
just because this was a frequent thing with her. It was a lot of jealousy. Um, God forbid I was the center of attention on anything, or I had anything shined on me. It was like constantly stealing the spotlight, constantly undermining, a lot of jabs, a lot of just disheartening commentary from her. And it was like I was supposed to just sit in the background in a corner and root her on, and I could never be in that place with her.
Yeah.
So really hard for me, and it's hard to cut ties like that. It's really hard to cut ties that um where people they want to shine and they want you to support them, but then when it's your turn it's like a constant cut down. And it's something I've noticed with that pattern with her. It was something very dramatic all the time that was going on when I had my highest moments and I was being blessed with extreme blessings. It was something very dramatic with her and she would cut me down constantly,
Yeah.
so
That's part of
I
that whole passive aggressive thing. And that's why, like,
yeah.
to be honest, I'm not a fan of friends because I have yet to meet a friend that actually contributes to me in a healthy way. I don't need my friends to like come to my streams and spend money on me. I don't need my friends to promote, all my stuff. Like, I'm a business. I can do all of that by myself. When I think of a friend, I think of somewhere that's like a safe space. I think of like back in high school when I had a friend and she would come over and we'd eat all the things in the fridge, the hot dog, the ice cream. We'd watch shows for like 4 hours straight and just lay on the floor and talk about life. Like that's what I think of as a friend, somebody to spend quality time with, to refuel me and rejuvenate me so that way when I go back out into the world, I feel refreshed. And
Yeah.
I don't find that. Like even with some of my close friends, when I get together with them and we're supposed to just be hanging out, having fun, somebody is usually complaining about something. And I can't take the complaints because I'm in a happy place in my life. I'm in a good place in my life. I don't need that kind of energy around me to now make me look at my life and say, "Oh, what's wrong here?" You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So it's like I'm not a fan of having friends because so far in my experience they have been distractions. And I'm sorry to say that because I really wish I could find like people that are just I can't wait to go to them or their home or whatever and just chill out and hang out, but it's not
Right.
really happening that way.
Yep. Understandable. That's why I think it's important to, have those boundaries, have boundaries set, and definitely know like when you're running a business, there is a separation between friends and business,
Yeah.
and I found myself having to set boundaries with that. So, okay, we're in the last few minutes, but I wanted to go ahead and invite Taz. Hello, thank you for joining.
Hey, Taz.
To go ahead and invite everyone up. If you guys have some questions to ask. I think I invited everyone up. I'm not sure. I think I did. Yep. Hello.
Hello.
So
Stormy.
I think I sent an invite to you guys, Megan and Taz. I think I sent invites to you guys too. If I didn't, please raise a hand. If not, and you just don't want to be up here, that's okay too. No biggie. This is just question time. Like if anybody has questions about being a parent, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. Sorry, my phone is so busy in the mornings. um, being, anything like that. This is the time to kind of ask those questions.
I don't have a question, but I just want to just say thank you both for having this conversation this morning because I am a parent and I did the same thing a little bit, same story. Like I was working, I had my children, I was able to incorporate them in everything that I do. And I think that's just so huge because kids these days, they're just so stuck in technology that they don't know how to do customer service. They don't know how to communicate with other people or approach other people. My youngest, she's 11 and she knows my business in and out because I'm able to take her to events, different things that we have to do. And I get my kids involved because as a parent, we're mentors to our kids as well. They look up to us, and to see as a single parent and being a female that my kids, my daughters can look up to me and being like, you know what, she's a strong, independent female, and it's okay to be that way and to have kids and have a career and balance everything, but also teach them life skills, communication skills. They don't teach a lot of the skills hands on and just common sense out in the world when it comes to having jobs and being financially stable and wanting to show them how to budget money, how to you know hold an event, like what it takes and things to that matter. So I just think it's super important that you don't shun your kids out, you actually incorporate them, even if it's just like for a little bit, even if it's just like getting them a taste of it. Because sometimes, kids grow out of those kinds of things and they're like, oh, I don't want to go no more. But you still gave them the opportunity to show them different aspects and different things for work ethic.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. Yeah. Because, our schools, they're not really teaching kids like the life skills they need. I know like my son is in one of those life skill classes, and I'm glad they're teaching him how to iron clothes or sew a button and stuff. And I think this is great. This is a great start, but I can't wait on them to teach them about business fundamentals, right? My children, when they were less than 10 years old, I took them to the bank and opened up their own savings and checking accounts. So they both have savings and checking. They both have like a debit card. And we've been talking about, you make this much money. This is how much rent costs. This is how much a car payment costs. This is how much gas costs. You know what I mean? Like, I like that what you're doing, Stormy, because that's what I do too, is just keep involving them. And my hope, my wish is that my children become entrepreneurs so that they can work for themselves. And I hope they see how much fun it is by, mommy always has time for us. Mommy's always playing games with us. Mommy's always taking us on vacations because I'm a single mom. So I don't have a partner in my life to spend the money on us to take us on vacations. I've been taking my kids on vacations around the world, across the US by myself, right? So I'm hoping that that does show them that, wow, the life of an entrepreneur is actually very fruitful and we might want to look into that as opposed to working for someone else.
I agree 100%. I want to just back what both of you have said too, because so for me growing up, college was kind of like beaten into my head about how important it was. And of course, that transitioned into my children, and kind of drilling it into them about college is everything and going to college and getting a degree and being important, people with these big degrees. And of course, like, like I'm gonna shoot high. So, and we all in my family, they had medical degrees. So that was something that was very important that I kind of did push on my children for a while there when they were little. Like, oh yeah, we're prepping. Oh, you're in high school. Like you have to do sports and you have to do a club because this is what's gonna look good on your college application. And you need to get into you have to have the best grades and you have to do this because we have to do college and then we have to do med school. And this is not an option. And it was when I left my very first career, when I retired and I opened my own business, I changed my train of thought and I changed how I was raising my children. And I allowed them to grow with me through my business ventures and my entrepreneurship. And my oldest son, 2, 3 years ago, looked at me and said, I just want you to know I'm not going to college. And I had that split reaction like, "What?" And then I was like, "You know what? That's okay. Like, it's okay that you don't wanna go to college if that's what you choose to do." I was like, "What do you wanna do?" He was like, "I wanna own my own business."
I love that.
Yeah, and I about lost it. I really did. Like, I just, like, I started, like, I had a few little tears drop on my cheek, and I was just like, "Oh, proud moment." But and even now he's 19 and he's working. He came to me a few months back and had like a business plan that he had made on what he wanted to do. And I was just like, and it's in the spiritual community. And I was like, yes. I was like, let's do this. Let's invest. Let's get some things together. Unfortunately, he is having to go through a very tough cycle in his life where he's got to learn right now. He's out on his own. He's doing his own thing. He made some really poor decisions. And, I, as a mother, and a business owner, I have to let him go. I have to let him do his own thing. And when he's ready to come back and start his venture, I'm here with open arms, of course. But I think that's really important to teach your children that you can be super successful. I mean, I went literally from $20 in a box of rocks in 3 years to revenuing 6 digits a year with my company. So, I mean, it's possible and you can be just as successful without, and I told my son, I said, if you want to do college, do some business courses, marketing, stuff like that. I mean, that all helps, of course. But it's not something where it's like, oh, you have to do this to be successful. That was just where I had to change my mindset on that. So, I'm really grateful to see other entrepreneurs and business people pushing that, being a business owner is where it's at. And it's a great thing to do.
Absolutely. I think the more like people start talking and having conversations like this, Luna, and thank you so much for having me and creating the space for this, because there's so much disbeliefs about becoming a CEO entrepreneur. And I think by you having conversations like this, it just allows people to know, you know what? I can do this. It's just going to take me being really focused and committed, but I can do this. We can start to dispel some of the myths. Like I remember I had a friend who wanted to become a business owner, but they were terrified of paying health insurance. They were paying over $700 a month in health insurance because they didn't want to be self-employed. And I'm like, I pay about $90 a month for health insurance, right? Because of the marketplace. And they were like, no. And I said, yeah, you would qualify as a self-employed small business owner. You can get insurance for like $90 a month. And they had no idea. So it's like there's a lot of things that people feel about business that they're afraid, and I just have to kind of keep reminding them like, no, it's not what you think it is, but you definitely need to do your work and research. And I think platforms like what you're providing, Luna, is going to be helpful to help people make that jump. So I'm grateful that you had this today and had me as your guest.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, and it's 11:04, so I'm going to wrap it up, but I just want to thank you so much for being here, for being with us, for sharing your strength, your wisdom, your guidance with us. I think it's so important to connect, like you said, having a platform where we can talk about these things, and especially with Taz, no offense. But especially with women, because so many women just feel so unempowered through being mothers. And, and even men too. Sometimes men, they feel unempowered too with being fathers, and they feel like they just can't provide or can't do what they need, or they're scared to take step forwards and do what they need to do to be successful business owners. So I think this is really important that we share our messages and we share our experience, strength, and hope and what we're doing, because this might help somebody else. And I mean, hello, let's take corporate America back a little bit, and like let's get our small businesses out there and really make a difference. I think it's very important.
I'm definitely here for it.
Yes. So thank you, Uma, so much for being here. Thank you,